Hi all, it is Ragarath here. We have some exciting news in the world of Techtonica. The release of version 1 has been announced. Whilst it is exciting, are they doing this just because version 1 of Satisfactory has come out, do you think? We'll have to see, I guess. Please note, there will be spoilers in this video, but there's nothing that was not in the original video released by Firehose. If you don't want to see them, then please find another video to watch, although finding a video to watch about this without spoilers might be a little hard. Version 1 is due to be released on the 7th of November of 2024, which is just over a month away at this point. Firehose have released a whole video which is about an hour long, which I have watched through. I didn't watch that through on stream because it was just a playthrough that they were doing, so it was less structured than what this video is going to be. So hopefully you'll find this a good synopsis of what they said in that video. I'm going to highlight here a few things that I think are important while showing off some of the video that was released in their video. Okay, so to start, they announced that they have around double or tripled the amount of content in-game, which is great news. So this content is new machines and recipes to new biomes, yes, you heard it here, and more story and narrative as well as, you know, they have completed the storyline. So in version 1, we get the whole story. The narrative is all there, which is going to be great and gives us something to look forward to. Now, right at the start of the video, they've shown off that the research cores themselves they've now been reduced. So before they were a 2x2 voxel size, they've now been reduced down to a single voxel. They're saying this is new, but back in the alpha, they were single voxels to start with. They were not the current model. They were just a square sort of research cube, which I will hopefully show you on the screen here. But yeah, they used to be 1x1 voxels, and I actually complained about it when they increased them to be a 2x2 because there was really no point. The 1x1 is, or you know, the single voxel is much more in keeping with the game, I think. That it's more of a revert than an actual change. But for those of you that have come since they've been 2x2, you know, it'll be new to you. Later on, it's also revealed that the core composers now stop at a certain height, so they won't grow forever. These will store 2K cores, 4K cores, and 8K cores. That's if I understood right what they were saying in the video, because it was a little disjointed and quite hard to hear in the video whilst they were playing the game at the same time. So hopefully I've got that right. So the core composers will now also just store them in a rectangular hologram that will be shown above the core composer. And the big change here is that a core composer can have a mix of core colors. So a single core composer can hold the pink cores, the blue cores, the green cores, and the gold cores. That's right, green and gold. What's that, Rag? You said green and gold? Yes, green and gold research cores have been added. So the green cores are for researching the new tech that can be found at the Sierra production terminal onwards. And the gold cores have been added for the core boost. So that's an upgrade that you get in the game. And the core boosts increase the functioning of all the machines. Before, it used to be just excess cores that we had, so excess pink and blue cores, but now they have a specific resource tied to it, which is the gold cores, which should allow us to more easily work out how many cores we're actually using on our core boost, and so the maths will work out a lot easier. Speaking of maths, this has been made easier as well, with all of the recipes being streamlined to have clean numbers. So they go up with integers rather than fractions or decimals, and so the output on the upgrades will be easier to work out. So assemblers also go up now, so they start at 100% obviously, but they go up to 150% and 200%. That's it. So the numbers are going to be a lot easier to work out, and I think that's quite a welcome change, because they did try and do this a bit more in the current version, but there were still some numbers that were awkward, shall we say. But hopefully in the new 1.0 version, the numbers will be a lot easier to work out. This segues nicely into the fact that early game progression has once again shifted from a fuel first to assembler first progression system. This again is a regression to what the game was like previously, which encourages you to set up your production first and get automating your production, rather than having to worry about fuel and farming first. As you know, automating production in a factory game is the whole idea of them, but with Techtonica it also provides another benefit. Where in other games, automating things just speeds up the process usually, in Techtonica, starting to produce recipes in assemblers actually allows you to craft more with the same amount of resource. So for example, if you handcraft something and it takes a single iron ingot, an assembler will create 2 of that item for the same single ingot. They've gone further in 1.0 as well, so that a single ingot in a Mark II assembler will now quadruple the output, so a single ingot will make 4 of the final product. Now for what I think is the biggest change to the game is the carving up of the map. No longer do you only get the freight elevator when you explore, but you get it right after learning the mole in Production Terminal Lima. This makes the freight elevator a core part of the gameplay and requires you to build drill bits that you can feed into the elevator to drill through to the next level. In my opinion, this is much like Satisfactory in that you're sending stuff up the space elevator to progress, but it does lean into the storyline better and makes the elevator a core part of the story. What does this mean, though, for the storyline of the elevator itself and the fact that Excalibur had come all the way down to Production Terminal Victor? Perhaps the story has been adjusted to deal with this? I don't know. So the elevator will now take you up through different strata, 16 of them to be exact. I'm not sure how I feel about the single map being split up into lots of smaller maps. Let's hope that the exploration aspect does not get lost with this. A good fact of this, though, is that it will be less resource intensive on the PC or the console that is actually running this. So we may get better performance with this as well, as they mentioned that memory use has been dramatically reduced. The first 11 levels of the elevator seem to be a breaking up of the old map into these different levels. The final 5 levels seem to be made up of the new desert biome maps from PT Sierra. Talking of Excalibur, you can see that it's now on level 7, so maybe they have changed the story a bit to deal with that. Sierra is also where the new desert biome starts. These levels have a new mechanic added to them that initially looks fun, but might be a little annoying when you need to build a factory. It pits you against the level itself, and the level is initially filled with sand. You need to build and fuel sand pumps to get rid of the sand. This is not a one-time thing. You need to keep the sand pumps running, otherwise the level will fill back up with sand. Fresh sand quakes are what the story narrative of this is, I guess, dislodging sand from further up in the level itself. Pumping out the sand will start to reveal new narrative items and story, as well as new areas to build your factory. New ore types will be exposed as well, including scrap ore, which is made from old facilities that got crushed when it got filled up with sand, I guess. And from this scrap ore, you can crush the ore to get gold ore, which I think is the only two new ore types that they have mentioned so far. But that also means that we get a new machine called a crusher, which I'm sure we'll find more out about later on. Sand pumps will only be able to initially pump out the sand to a point directly below where they are placed. Let's call it the sucky tube that extends below the sand pump down as far as the hard part of the ground. You'll need to place additional sand pumps to get further down if your initial pumps don't reach all the way down in the level. They did mention that it'll be easy to just look at the map and see how far down it goes, and therefore to place your pumps in the right places initially, but it sounds like you're going to need to build quite a few sand pumps to pump out the sand at any sort of speed. They were using 6 in the demo, and it didn't seem to be going down massively quickly. These pumps also use a lot of fuel. They mentioned that when you get to sand pumps, you need to be producing biodiesel to be able to keep them running. That means that we'll actually have a use for biodiesel at last. I've never progressed far enough to want to bother with biodiesel because it was absolutely unnecessary. Drills have also been changed so that they can now be packed tightly together. There is now no vertical clearance on them, so I assume they can be stacked right on top of each other. And this might mean that it's a lot easier now to mine out the ore without leaving voxels in between, so you can get the whole of an ore vein without having these annoying voxels left all over the place, which will be a good addition. Now for some news on the most unused tool in the arsenal. The Omniseeker has been made useful. It now has a positional bar that shows you how close to the thing you're seeking you actually are. It also has an angular bar that can be used to find things buried or further away. It will put boxes around the voxels to show you where it is, with a color coding indicating how close you are, and white being you're basically right on top of the darn thing. The boxes will last up to 45 seconds until they disappear, but using the Omniseeker again will just make them reappear for another 45 seconds, so that's, it's just a visual indicator of where the item is. But another great addition to it is that the Omniseeker can now look for hidden boxes as well as hard drive upgrades, and I'm thinking maybe the little bugs for the pulse room, maybe. We'll see. And once you found these hidden crates, they've now also added the ability to remove the crates, or rather pick them up instead, so that they're not left scattered all over the level and getting in the way of your builds, etc. Hopefully they've also added the ability to remove these placed structures, but I'm not sure that they've done that. They didn't show it in the video, but it is one thing that I'd really like them to add. Obviously the production terminals have to stay, but the other buildings that are placed around, I think they should all be destructible. Another big addition to the game is that flying has been added at last. I know we can already jump up on our jetpacks, but with those, it's only a certain height above the ground, so you can't continuously stay at one level if you're going above things. But with the flying edition, it is now possible to properly fly. They did mention that holding down the spacebar allows you to fly up, and whilst in flying mode, that you can interact with everything up to 50 meters away, but only while you're flying. But that makes it easier to manipulate your whole factory from above. So a great addition there. They didn't mention how to descend, though that might just be falling like we do in the current level. In the current iteration of the game. So, As you can see, they've added quite a lot. They've probably also not mentioned everything that they are adding to the game because some of it may be a surprise. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised myself to find out that there is more in the game that they have not mentioned. So what do you guys think? Do you think they are releasing too close to the Satisfactory 1.0 release? Or do you think it is time that they should have released it? Myself, I think they might be, you know, a bit close to it. I think they should have waited a bit longer. Perhaps they're trying to jump on the back of Satisfactory and utilize some of the new people that are getting into factory building. I don't know. What are you excited to see? Are you worried about the level being split up? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. And I'll catch you all in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!